Forwards seem to be the most difficult position to pick from in FPL this year. Should we stick to the tried and tested, or can some new faces light up the Premier League? So today, we're going to rank all of them so you can figure out what your forward line is going to look like come Game Week 1. Yes, now welcome back to FPL Mate. We are back with another tier list, this time for forwards, a heavily requested video. So hopefully this is going to really help you guys out. I spent the last 24 hours doing so much research in all of the forwards. We've got 28 we're going to tier list today based on top picks, great picks, solid picks, risky picks, and avoids. And there are certainly a few avoids in today's video, guys. But we're going to start off with a young Mr. Patrick Bamford. Hold on, guys. The phone's ringing. The phone's ringing. Oh, 1 second. Yep. Hello? Hello? Okay, yeah, I'll let them know. 2020 called. They want their FPL pick back. I can't believe it's been 5 years since Bamford was lighting up the Premier League, but sadly, he's just not a starter anymore, and he didn't actually start a single game for Leeds United in the Championship last season, so he has to be an avoid. But our next player is going to be Piroe, who I think is a little bit more reliable, and I'm going to put him in solid. 19 goals and 7 assists in 46 games in the Championship last season. Probably good for 8 or 9 goals this season, judging by how the Championship strikers usually translate to the Premier League. It's nothing crazy, but it's okay value for money at 5.5 million. That is very cheap, and it may allow you to splash the cash in other areas of your team. It's just those fixtures are not looking too great, are they? But anyway, we'll move on to Chido Obi next. I'm also going to put him in the avoid category. Unfortunately, he's unlikely to get much game time immediately. He's one of those players who will be mass sold as people change their structure going into future game week. So I think a 4.4 million price drop is going to be coming very soon for Obi, unfortunately. And it's going to be the same situation for our next pick, which is going to be Barnes. Yes, the Austrian legend. I just love the fact that Barnes played for the Austrian national under-20s team way back in the 2000s. Absolutely crazy stuff. But yeah, 35 years old now. Again, not a starter for Burnley. Joined up second half of last season. Only really played the odd minute here and there, but he is not anymore a starter for Burnley. So an avoid. Our next player is Delap. I feel like we have to put him in a void as well, unfortunately. I'm kind of sad for him in many ways because he joined Chelsea. He thought he was going to be the new striker, but Joao Pedro has looked so good. I definitely think Delap has the possibility of getting some minutes in the Premier League this season. You know, even if Joao Pedro plays behind him as more of an attacking midfielder, maybe Palmer goes out to the right wing and Delap plays as the striker, and there's different options there for Chelsea. But I think, generally speaking, we're looking at under 50% of games he is going to start for Chelsea. And I just don't think that's really a game you want to play in FPL. So I'm sure he will have some good games, but I'll also have a lot of those one-pointers, which we don't really want to see because Joao Pedro has just been so good. And we will be speaking about him later, of course. We're going through all of the top 20 most popular forwards right now, guys, all the way up to the number 1 most popular forward. And after we've done that, we're going to talk about some of those differential players that maybe less people are selecting and seeing if there is any other players we might want to consider who aren't as popular as well. But let's keep working our way towards the popular guys. And our next pick is actually going to be Ekitike. I think he's maybe a little bit underrated. Not too many people are picking him. Not really seen too many guys going for Ekitike. But 15 goals and 8 assists last season in the Bundesliga is not too bad for 31 games. The issue is with Ekitike is, you know, is Isak going to join in the Liverpool squad? Is that going to happen? And are you going to be forced to make a transfer? Quite possibly. But, you know, I think certainly for the first couple of game weeks of the season, whilst this Isak deal, it goes through and then Isak gets up to speed at Liverpool, you're going to get a few game weeks from Ekitike with some pretty solid minutes, I think. And therefore, yes, he's probably a transfer waiting to happen, which is why we can't put him any higher than solid. But in the short term, he could be okay. He could be okay. So let's move on to our next pick. It's going to be Strand Larsen, who is going to go into great pick. Yes, the Wolves striker got 14 goals and 4 assists in 30 games last season, which is brilliant value for money for a 6.5 million forward. And what's better is that, yes, Cunha has left Wolves, who was a big player for Wolves, but Strand Larsen doesn't need Cunha to thrive. When Cunha was kind of banned or not playing for Wolves, Strand Larsen was still thriving for them. So that's not really going to make a big difference from him. And actually, We've got Arias now arriving at Wolves, who is a really nice creative player who could benefit Strand Larsen. The fixtures are pretty average. Got Man City first, then Bournemouth, Everton and Newcastle, but then Leeds United in game week 5. So I don't think they're actually that bad for fixtures, and I think you could even play them against Man City game week 1. Value for money wise, I think this is a great pick, genuinely do. And we're going to keep it, we're going to keep the trend going of great picks, because I'm going to put Mateta in here. Now his fixtures aren't as strong. Kind of got Chelsea, Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa in that opening 3. He actually did score against Aston Villa and Chelsea last season, but he does have Sunderland and West Ham in game week 4 and 5, which are pretty nice fixtures. I wouldn't actually mind going for him in game week 1. Definitely think that's a possibility, and that's because he's been in great form in pre-season. And last season didn't really have a pre-season. He was playing at the Olympics for France, so didn't have that strong pre-season. Now he does. He looks like he's in great shape, bags of confidence, and even with no pre-season last year, 14 goals, 2 assists in 33 games. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. Not quite as much as Strand Larsen, but hey, it's still decent. And also a good chance Mateta and Strand Larsen both could be penalty takers this year as well. So that's another string to their bow that we maybe aren't seeing as much from many of the other players we're going to talk about today. Let's go to our next man, and it's another avoid again, and it's going to be Wissa. Unfortunately for Wissa, there is just no clarity on his situation. He's demanding a move. He really wants to move away from Brentford this season. Whether he actually gets that move or not, I don't know. If he doesn't get that move, is it going to take a week or two to kind of reintegrate him into, getting that mentality to be playing for Brentford? I don't know. There's so much mystery. He might go to another Premier League club, maybe Newcastle are interested. He could go to Saudi. There's been some rumors there as well. So it's a real mystery what's going to happen with Wissa, and where there is that uncertainty, I think you just have to avoid the player, to be honest. Next up is Welbeck. And for me, he's a risky pick at 6.5 million. And I've kind of changed my mind on him over the last couple of weeks. I thought he could be okay. Now getting a little more worried about him. He did get 10 goals and 5 assists last season in 24 starts, which isn't bad at all. But there is some rotation danger here. So Rutter has actually been playing. So Rutter, 6 million midfielder, by the way, in FPL. He has been playing a lot of games as the striker for Brighton during the pre-season. And also, Brighton have spent 30 million on teenage striker Kostoulas from Greece. Then we've got Welbeck's injury record. Then the fixtures are maybe a little underwhelming. So we've got Fulham in game week 1. Not sure how that one's going to play out. Then the tough fixtures are a couple of games after that. So yeah, there's a lot of risk. There's a lot of concerns there coming from different directions. Injuries, rotation, minutes, availability, fixtures. I don't know. Just not reliable. I think there's risk there. But again, guys, as we always say in these tier list videos, just because a player is risky, it doesn't mean they're an avoid. If you are willing to take a risk, then, you can definitely pick from these kind of players as well. And of course, I never want to tell you guys what to do, but maybe just give my opinion and maybe some facts that might help you guys out as much as I can. And by the way, guys, if you do enjoy these tier list videos, make sure you do drop a like and subscribe for more FPL content. There's also a midfielder and defender tier list video. If you want to check them out, I'll link them at the end of the video in a little playlist. Why not? Because we're going to talk about Mark Gue next. And for 4.5 million, he's your man. Great pick. Yeah. So he is a top striker prospect loaned to Sunderland from Chelsea. And there's actually a clause in his loan contract, which means he must play a certain amount of minutes. Now, that said, he wasn't even on the bench for the most recent Sunderland friendly. So his game week 1 minutes are going to be lower. I think even game week 2, there is some risk he won't start in that game either. But within a couple of weeks, we could have a 4.5 million starting striker. So for value for money, that's good there. Again, in these tier list videos, just because a player is cheaper, that doesn't mean we drop them down to the bottom categories. We take the price into consideration when we're ranking these players. So even though it looks like Mark Gue is kind of on the same level as Mateta and Strand Larsen, it's because we're taking that price into account. We're taking the fixtures into account as well. So there's different factors there. And let's be honest, guys, Mark Gue is probably going to be on your bench anyway. So there's naturally going to be less risk attached to going for him in your team, particularly if we don't think he's going to drop in price and could actually get some game time. Next up, Dominic Solanke Mitchell is a risky pick for game week 1. He's got great fixtures, penalties, but there is a big injury concern. So Thomas Frank said the injury is minor and that he isn't worried. But he said that weeks ago, and he has been absent from every Spurs friendly since that day. So I'm a little worried about this one, given Spurs' reputation with injuries. They had a lot of injury problems last season that never really seemed to get better. Players would be out for seemingly just a week or two, and it ended up being months. So is that going to be the same for Solanke? Are we going to carry that risk? Even if he can build his fitness up, is he going to be ready for that sweet game week 1 fixture against Burnley? I'm not sure. So there's a risk attached here. If you're willing to take that risk, go for it. But I think he has to go there. And we've got a couple more risky players coming up next, guys. So first of all, it's going to be Beto. I know he's very popular as a 5.5 million striker, but he got 8 goals in 15 starts last season, which is not bad at all. But Moyes has commented about Beto maybe not being up to the standard he expects ahead of the new season. And memory from Beto from watching him last season, he did miss a lot of chances and the limited chances that Everton did create. So there is some worry there, I suppose. Everton have also spent a lot of money on their new striker, Barry, who started the most recent friendly in what looks like a full-strength 11 as well. So there is some concern about Beto, whether he is going to be the main starting striker. And even if he is, for how long is that going to be? Perhaps not too long. But our next player is Barry. And by the way, guys, this is not the return of Gareth Barry to Everton. That would be very strange. But hey, this is a different guy. So TNO Barry. And technically he should be in the differentials section of the video, but I think it makes more sense to talk about him here. At 1.1% selected, he is the biggest differential, the lowest owned player in this video today. He got 11 goals in 37 games last season in La Liga for Villarreal, and he's seen as a real hot striker prospect. But he is quite raw, and I don't think he is 100% nailed ahead of Beto immediately. And I suspect that both Beto and Barry will share some minutes until a regular starter is established. Let me know what you think about that one, Everton fans. It's always good to hear from the fans of the clubs to kind of give some insight that maybe I'm not able to provide. So leave a comment down below. But we need to go to the next player. And we're getting to some really popular picks now, guys. And I'm going to put Chris Wood in the solid pick category. A bit of a hero last season, 20 goals and 3 assists, but he overperformed those numbers enormously with just 13 XG and 1.5 XA expected assists. So is it sustainable? Is he truly a world-class finisher? Can he keep up these messy levels of finishing for the rest of his career? I'll leave that for you to decide. I am a little worried about Forest. They've kind of failed to create very much in pre-season. That said, the fixtures are very good. European football may reduce Wood's minutes a little bit given his age, and there's going to be a lot of fixtures this season for him. So I don't know. Wood, maybe other people would consider him a great pick, but unfortunately, Woody, you have not got a friend in me. I have to put you in solid. There are positives, but there are also negatives. So I think that prevents me from putting him any higher there. So let's keep going. And we're going to move to possibly one of, if not my favorite forward in the entire tier list, who I'm going to put straight into top pick. And that's Ollie Watkins. And at 17.4% selected, I still think he's really underrated because he's Mr. Reliable. 15 or more goals in each of his last 3 seasons, 8 or more assists in each of his last 3 seasons. His opening fixtures maybe look average: Newcastle, Brentford, Crystal Palace, Everton, but he got 10 returns in 8 games against these teams last season. And actually the fixtures from game week 5 look really nice. So you can just pick him in your team, set and forget. Leave him in your team, watch him clock up those points slowly, perhaps, but surely. And that is what Watkins provides, that assuredness that many of these other strikers just are unable to give to you. And also, by the way, Aston Villa fans think he's probably the penalty taker as well, the first choice penalty taker for Aston Villa. So you're going to get that string to your bow as well. We like Watkins a lot over here, but we're going to move on. And it's going to be moving on to Jared Bowen. I think I'm happy to put him in great pick. I think he could maybe also be solid. So maybe we drop him down like maybe lower on the great pick category. But 13 goals and 11 assists last season is not too bad. but it was a big overperformance with just 8.6 season XG and 6.47 XA. We may see less points from him as well this season. He won't be getting clean sheet points anymore, and he'll get one less point per goal. Now he has changed from being a midfielder in FPL to now a forward. That said, the opening fixture against Sunderland is fantastic. After that, I don't think there's really any truly good fixtures until Brentford in Game Week 8. The fixtures actually look really nice from Game Week 8. So that could be a potential jumping on point for a player like Bowen. But that said, you know, like Watkins, he's reliable every season without fail. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get some FPL points at the very least. And for that reason, I think he is a great pick if you're looking for that safety and security ahead of Game Week 1. And our next player is the big man himself, Erling Haaland. And I'm sorry, guys, I can't put him anywhere other than a top pick. 22 goals and 3 assists last season, and that's in a bad season. 27 goals the season before, 36 the season before that. Plenty of assists in there too. He's an absolute machine, and I think, you know, a lot of us are maybe going with a team with Salah in it, and maybe we can't afford to get Haaland in our team as well. But that doesn't mean that Haaland is a bad pick. Like, Haaland is a phenomenal pick. I think if you're willing to go for Haaland instead of Salah, or maybe both, then it's a risk. But, you know, it could definitely pay off for you guys. And, you know, I'm frightened as a non-Haaland owner in my FPL team right now. I'm very frightened of him. So although Watkins is nailed in my team and he's a top pick for me, Haaland is also a top pick for me. I just can't fit him into my team. But that doesn't make him any less of a top pick. Now let's get the shiny new toy, the shiny new boy from Sweden, little old Gyokeres. Where are we going to put him? I think great pick. And maybe that's Arsenal bias, but I hope not. Hopefully we can talk about him. So 54 goals and 12 assists in 52 games in all competitions last season. In fairness, most were in the Portuguese league, but he also performed well for Sweden and in Europe. Maybe some of the goals were penalties too, but this record, no matter how you want to kind of caveat it and say, what about this, what about that? Regardless of all of that, it is still a phenomenal goal scoring record. And this guy is a goal scorer, and that's how you get FPL points at the end of the day. He also scored his first friendly goal for Arsenal just yesterday. The fixtures might not be ideal for Arsenal over the opening 6, but Game Week 1 against Manchester United, Game Week 2 against Leeds, these are opportunities for Gyokeres, who could also be the penalty taker for Arsenal this season. And interestingly, I think there's a very good chance that Gyokeres over the course of the season actually outscores Ollie Watkins. However, in this opening run, I do expect Watkins to maybe do slightly better. So for that reason, I'm going to put Watkins ahead of Gyokeres, but I still think Gyokeres is a very nice pick indeed. Now let's go to a not so nice pick that is currently the second most popular forward in FPL right now, and it's going to be Alexander Isak. We have to put him in a void. He's not even training with the Newcastle squad at the moment. He's training separately as Newcastle try and figure out what is going to be happening with him. So, you know, given that we don't even know what's going to happen with him and he costs so much money, it's really, really difficult to kind of recommend him as a pick, because we don't know what we're going to be getting. Are we going to be getting a Liverpool Isak? Are we getting a Newcastle Isak? Is he going to be frozen out of the team for the first couple of game weeks? I think certainly the first 2 game weeks for Newcastle aren't great fixtures anyway. There's Aston Villa and Liverpool there. So if he stays at Newcastle, maybe from game week 3, when we're kind of more certain about the situation. I mean, technically the transfer window doesn't even shut until after game week 3, but yeah, until you can get some certainty on Isak, it's just too difficult to recommend him. It really is. I think we have to just straight up avoid him. But again, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that, because he's the second most popular pick in the game right now. Why are you, if you are someone picking Isak right now, let me know why that is. Like, are you not worried at all? Because I am so worried that he has to be in a void until we get clarity. It's just the way it's got to be. Right. The most popular forward in FPL right now, before we look at some of the low-owned players, is actually going to be Joao Pedro. And I think he's a great pick. I'm happy to put him in the great pick category. I know a lot of creators, perhaps myself included at times, have ragged on him a little bit, but that's kind of because last season for Brighton, it wasn't really amazing. 5 non-penalty goals and 6 assists in 23 starts last season. you know, it's not perfect, right? But he is at a new club right now, and what we've seen from him at Chelsea so far is just phenomenal. It really, really is. He did incredibly at the Club World Cup and is a huge part of how Chelsea won that Club World Cup. And also, you know, done really well in the friendly a couple of days ago as well. So it's his link-up play with Chelsea, with Palmer, and, you know, everything looks really good, and everything looks like it's clicking with Joao Pedro in this Chelsea team. He makes them a much better team, and he's scoring goals for them as well. This is really nice. He's genuinely becoming a really nice pick. But I think another factor is that we have to consider is that because he is so popular, because over half of FPL managers have him in their team, which I think will go up by the Game Week 1 deadline, if you don't pick Joao Pedro and he does well in these great fixtures for Chelsea, you are betting against the crowd, and it is a huge risk to take. And if you are comfortable with that risk, fair enough. But given that he has been in such good form since joining Chelsea, looks so good, works so well in the team, that he might actually get more minutes than we expect, whether that's at striker or behind the striker, maybe potentially even on the wing there. I'm getting growing positivity on Joao Pedro. I think there's a lot of factors at play that actually do make him a great pick, but we need to talk about some differential players next, guys. So let's start off with Evan Nilsson. Evan Nilsson. And for me, I think he's another great pick. I know I'm putting a lot of players in the great pick categories, but like, you know, compared to a lot of the players in the lower categories, I quite like Evan Nilsson. So let's talk about him for a second. 10 goals and 5 assists in 28 starts last season. And he actually underperformed his season XG of 12.47. So actually, XG per 90, he is way ahead of someone like Chris Wood. Way ahead. So because of that underperformance, I suppose, his XG per 90 numbers was actually 5th best in the Premier League with 0.48 per 90. That's only behind Haaland, Isak, Wissa and Watkins. And he did that without penalties as well, which is really impressive. He could be on penalties as well whilst Kluivert is out, or if Kluivert moves to another club. Evan Nilsson could get those penalties. So there is some optimism here. And more so, the fixtures are good for Evan Nilsson. Yes, he plays Liverpool away in Game Week 1, but after that, the fixtures are genuinely brilliant. So I actually quite like Evan Nilsson as a pick. I think, you know, maybe I prefer some of the players further on the left side of the great pick category, but I think Evan Nilsson is still a great pick, and certainly a player worth considering for your FPL team, particularly if, you know, you can't quite afford a 7.5, 8 million, 9 million forward. You know, you've run out of budget. You can only afford 7 million. I think you could do a lot worse than going for Evan Nilsson, particularly if you can bench him for Game Week 1. Even that, though, I don't think is essential to do. Like, Liverpool will concede goals this season. They're not completely unbeatable, right? But anyway, we'll move on. And we're going to do another double one here, and it's going to be double risky. And that's going to be Raul Jimenez and Muniz. So same situation here really with Beto and Barry. So I did think that Raul was going to be the main striker for Fulham this season. I even mentioned that in yesterday's video. But, you know, having listened to some Fulham fans, taking some advice there, actually, I don't know if that is going to be the case. And by the way, guys, I've just noticed I have made a mistake here on Raul's price on the graphic. He should be 6.5 million there, but I'm sure you guys can let me off on that one. But yeah, Raul's stats are very good, but I think there is maybe some rotation risk. We're not sure who is going to be the main striker for Fulham. Is it going to be Raul? Is it going to be Muniz? I don't know the answer, so got to be risky. Got to be the same situation as Everton. Until we figure out the answer to this one, it's difficult to, you know, pick these players and actually wait until we get the answers maybe. And by that point, you know, Fulham maybe have some better fixtures there. So they're risky picks. I mean, to be fair, I could maybe even drop them down to the avoid category, to be 100% honest with you guys. But we'll put them in risky because they are maybe a lot cheaper than someone like Isak. So you're risking with less of your money, at least. So hopefully you have some bench cover there at the very least. But there's some more cheap players we need to talk about today. And that is going to include Füllkrug. Yes. Füllkrug is, for me, a solid pick. At 6 million, That is value for money for me. He had a nightmare season last year with loads of injuries. Preseason suggests he will be the main striker alongside Jared Bowen. But he's done brilliantly in preseason. He's scored in several games. And, you know, Bowen and Fulkrug seem to be developing a real partnership in preseason. And that's what Graham Potter has been working on with West Ham. So that's quite nice. We've got a really nice opening fixture against Sunderland. The problem is, same as Bowen, after game week 1, the fixtures do get a little bit worse. I guess the difference between a Fulkrug and a Bowen is that Fulkrug isn't as reliable as Bowen. He's not as fixture-proof as Bowen. But, on the other hand, he is just 6 million. So there's definitely some positives for Fulkrug. Definitely some things you can do with him. But we're going to put him in the solid pick category there. I think that's probably where he belongs. A couple more differentials, like hyper differentials, before we talk about Sesko. We have to talk about Sesko today. And we're going to include Kroupi Jr. So, if you're looking for a slightly riskier 4.5 million forward, he could be the guy. Cheap 4.5 million forward, played some minutes in pre-season, in fairness. The 19-year-old signed for 13 million euros from Lorient, but then loaned right back last season. In that season, though, in Ligue 2, he scored 22 goals and 3 assists in 30 games. So pretty nice there. I think he's just like a riskier bench option. Less danger of a price drop because less people own him. Don't really see massive benefits of going for him ahead of Mark Yu. But, hey, if you just want to do something different for the sake of it, you could take a risk there, I suppose. And we've got Igor Thiago, who I think for 6 million is solid. The price is a big part of him being solid, but yeah, I think we got to put him there. So 6 million, 16 goals and 2 assists in 26 games the season before last for Club Bruges in Belgium. Then he signed for 33 million euros, and he was going to be the Ivan Toney replacement last summer. Unfortunately, due to injuries, he was only able to play 168 minutes last season, but he has been starting games in pre-season. It looks like he is going to play regardless of whether Wissa stays or not. And if Wissa does leave, he will be the main man, the main attacker, goal outlet at Brentford in the new season. So for 6 million, there are definitely some positives to be taken here from him. Of course, you know, there's going to be plenty of players on this list who outscore him, but those players are mostly going to be the players who are more expensive than him. So that makes sense. So let's wrap this video up, guys, with Benjamin Sesko. And where should we put him? Where should we put him? I think probably risky is fair. I think risky is probably the fair place to put him. 8 million predicted price. I am recording this video before the price reveal on him. So we'll see if I'm right or not on that. Maybe by the time you watch this video, we will already know what Sesko's price is. But whether he is 8 million, 7.5, even maybe 8.5, he's maybe an avoid. But if he's 8 million, 7.5, even then I think he's risky. I would only really consider him moving him up here if he was 7 million, and I just cannot see that happening. 13 goals and 5 assists in 33 Bundesliga games last season. He will be joining probably too late to start the first game of the season for Manchester United, you would probably think. But the first game is against Arsenal anyway. So, you know, you could potentially put Sesko in your Game Week 1 team. Remember, guys, this is a tier list for your Game Week 1 team. So you could include him in your Game Week 1 team and then just bench him for that week, with the idea of maybe starting him in Game Week 2, Game Week 3, possibly something like that. That could potentially work. The one concern with Sesko, and I don't think he is a magic bullet player in FPL, regardless of his price, is because Man United have bought so many great goal-scoring players, Cunha and Burmo, that the goals probably will be spread this season. It's not like Man United are suddenly going to score 100 goals this season. So there is going to be some spreading. So Sesko, you're not going to be a 20 goal a season player. You know, he's not that guy anyway. Maybe he will become that one day. I think probably 11, 12 goals this season would probably be okay for him, with a few assists in there as well, and linking up with the other forwards to combine to score goals. So I think he is going to be risky kind of no matter what game week you buy him, unless he does somehow come in super cheap. But people in the future, you will be able to tell me that one, I suppose. But those are all the players we're going to rank today. Let me know if I've missed anyone out. You know, we went through so many forwards in this video, so I hope we haven't missed anyone. But if I have, let me know down in the comment section. And also let me know your opinions. Do you think I've got anything wrong in this tier list? Should anyone move up Should anyone move down, would love to hear from you guys, particularly those of you who are owning the players in the avoid category. I'd love to hear your reasoning why you are willing to take that risk on some of these players. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Please do drop a like, do subscribe if you're new around here as well. Check out the other tier list videos for midfielders and defenders if you enjoyed this one, and I will see you tomorrow because the 100 experts are finally back, guys. I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.